Okay, so we will call to order the Public Safety Committee meeting of the Village of Somerset for Monday, August 14th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. So present in the hall, we have Chris Marino and Chris Dubat. Online, we have Chief is also joining us, Trepchuk, and Officer Farrell as well. So first, why don't we go ahead and review the Public Safety Committee minutes of July 10th.
I looked them over. I make a motion to approve as written.
I read them as well. So I will second that motion. And no discussion. All in favor? Aye. So public comments on agenda items. I don't see anybody in the waiting room either. So I think we can go ahead and move on. Certainly, public can contact us anytime through our village email addresses. And new business, discussion officer vacancy. Do you have anything to say about this matter, or Chief?
I think Chief has something to say. I don't know if he's.
So I apologize, guys. I couldn't make Monday's Finance and Personnel Committee meeting. I see that Mike had put it on the agenda to discuss. I just wanted to really formally go on the record saying that I do believe we need the 7th officer position. Prior to this meeting, I had a chance to review Mike's comments at this month's Finance and Personnel Committee meeting. At 38 minutes and 39 seconds, he goes, the question is, if they don't, referring to the school, if they don't think we need a school resource officer position, do we need that position? Or can we save some money by not filling that position right now? In regards to that statement, I believe that's a misrepresentation of the school's position. This kind of came down to budgets and hiring freezes and staffing their school district. This has been like a general discussion between me and the school district since I took over in 2020 as the chief of police. The school is working towards a solution to bring that back to speed, up to a full-time position as soon as possible. So then at 39 minutes and 47 seconds, Mike says, my overall question is, do we even need a 7th position? I believe we do, yes. He continues, when there's 3 guys patrolling at 3 p.m. in the afternoon and there's little to no traffic or calls right now, it kind of seems, or it's kind of hard to justify. Then he continues to say, we only used to have 5 full-time officers and calls for service. We were a lot more busy back then than we are now. I think this is also a misrepresentation of our calls for service. I think if you look 2003 versus 2023, I can tell you that our calls for service have significantly increased. Our population has increased. I'd be curious to see Mike's reference on that. So in addition to that, he referenced 3 officers at 3 p.m. So we had to exercise managerial rights to go back to this 3-2-2-3 schedule because we lost the 7th officer position. And so we have a day shift officer, we have the chief of police, and we have a night shift officer. And Mike's correct, when we're fully staffed and everyone's there, we do at 3 p.m. we have the chief of police on duty, we have the day shift officer on duty, and we do have a night car on duty. There's about a 3 hour overlap between night shift and day shift. And then after 5 or 6 p.m., there's only 1 night car. So, we did that for a number of reasons. And I don't know how deep in the weeds you guys want me to go for this, but previously I worked a 5 to 5 shift here when I first started in 2012. And you're kind of on an island when you come in at 5 o'clock on your own. There's no communication. You get some notes from your supervisors. You can't follow up with the DA's office. All the businesses are closed. So this 3 hour overlap is also part of our wellness initiative. which allows for that. But I mean, if there's an issue with three guys being on for shift change, there's a lot more communication that occurs at that time. And for example, today, I'm out sick and I wasn't there, so now you have one officer. The last shift I did work, we had two domestics in the morning. One of which should have been an arrest, but ended up going to the hospital. So I think we're as busy as we ever been. I think our population is growing in one of the fastest growing counties in the state of Wisconsin. I mean, if you look around and look at all the public safety referendums, and you look at Osceola PD, who has 6 and asked for 3 additional officers. 6 is full staff, but I think they're down to 3. You look at St. Croix County, they asked for a bunch more officers. Baldwin PD has 10 officers. Prescott has 10 officers. I think 7 is the middle of the road, and you also got to consider the spring. We had 2 guys out in FMLA. We have 2 guys in the military. So now 60% of our staff have authorized leave, and we have to try to staff the rest of our department 3 people. It's kind of an extreme case, but I would be interested to see which municipalities in the state of Wisconsin are removing officers, especially in a growing community. So it's my understanding we have 6 full-time public works employees. What we're proposing is 6 full-time police employees. If you ask our department if you ask Bob Gunther, like why people are choosing Somerset versus the cities, I think they would reference a safer community. I think seeing a police officer in and around town is, you have a better sense of security here than you do in a bigger city, in my opinion. But I mean, if this is a direction that the board really wants to go, I guess I'd like something in writing saying that, there is going to be uncovered shifts, 12 plus hours at a time, where we're not going to have an officer on duty. And if the community is okay with that, I mean, we can work within those restraints. But so Mike also brought up past SRO performance. He referenced that the school felt like they weren't getting what they were paying for. I'm aware of an issue that was identified as an issue prior to 2020, before I took over as the chief of police. Since then, we haven't had issues. I would argue that it's been much better, and it's backed up by employee reviews from the school district of the SRO, which also support that. I was unable to locate any meeting minutes from the school district that reference those issues. But we also have to look at, okay, if the school resource officer isn't in the schools, well, where are they? And for a while, they're probably responding to calls for service in the village to back up that day officer. If there wasn't a day officer, he'd have to split duties. So again, I don't feel like going backwards is the solution. I'd also argue that policing in 2023 is much different than in 2003. And this is a budgeted position, which was approved by a previous board. I'm willing to re-explore the numbers and bring up the meeting minutes from the previous board, which there was a long presentation to justify this. We eliminated a full-time office coordinator position in order to make these full-time spots available. And just having a regression in staffing is kind of a blow to the morale, and it's just kind of frustrating in general. So I'd like to continue with the hiring process. We're up to 6 applicants. I'd like to invite them to interview. At the very least, we can start a eligibility list. And with the money that we're saving this year, we not only have enough to cover the difference from the SRO position, from the deficit that we'll have this year, but we also can roll that same money from the vacancies this year into next year, and it will also pay for the deficit of It's around $35,000 that we have to make up. But we have enough money in our current budget to pay for this year and next year to pay for that deficit. So, I guess I'm willing to answer any questions after this long monologue. Sorry, it kind of went off, but this is something I'm passionate about, and I would like to put together kind of a fact sheet, maybe 1 page or less, with kind of the justifications for why I think we need this.
Well, I'm on board with you. I feel that, police is needed in this day and age. And to go backwards would just be wrong.
I'm hearing that the PD had to plan and sacrifice for this position, and I'm loath to go backwards as well.
And I get it. I get Mike's perspective. I get your role as trustees and, you know, the governing body of a municipality and budgets and public perception. But, you know, it's like, okay, 3 p.m., little to no traffic, no calls for service. I'm just not really seeing that. Our busiest times are between 3 and 6 p.m. So again, I'd like to present facts opposed to opinions, and I'm willing to work with the board. And I get that budgets are tight. Personnel is, you know, 92% of our operating budget. It's, if we can cut money in different ways, I'm willing to look at it. It's just, I feel like the PD is rather fiscally responsible, and I'm willing to work with you guys. Let's put it that way.
And that's something that we're going to be talking about soon with the budget. So
Sounds good.
I appreciate your perspective and taking the time out.
So Joel, do you suppose, is this something that's gonna make its way, to the village board? I forgot to look at that.
It's not at this time.
It's not.
So it was put on as a discussion point at the Finance and Personnel Committee. And there was really no action taken on it. There was discussion, which I had a chance to review today, and I guess I gave my rebuttal today. Again, I'd argue that this is a budgeted position within our current budget. But so the next steps would be, for a hiring process, would be kind of go through with the process, follow our hiring policy. And then if we do select a candidate, we'd bring it to Finance and Personnel and discuss, you know, whether or not we have the budget for this. And then it would go to full village board for a vote. But, you know, the budget schedule is starting kind of simultaneously. We're going to be looking at budgets for next year at the same time. So it takes a while to hire a cop, and I think we should continue our slow roll towards selecting a candidate and see where that takes us.
I'm not making any final decisions at this time, right?
Right.
No,
That makes sense to me.
sounds good.
So I don't think we have to take any action, right?
No, just discussion.
Yes, and let's continue the discussion. But I don't think I have any other questions this time. How about you?
No. I'm good. Thanks, Joel.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Why don't we go ahead and move on then to the discussion, possible recommendation, Somerset Chamber of Commerce picnic beer application. And set the application.
Do you have anything to add on this, Joel, at all?
I think I briefly looked at it a week ago, but I guess the question was, where's the location? They kind of use multiple locations the last time I looked at it.
Main and Spring Street intersection plus the adjacent empty lot, plus the Main and Spring Streets where businesses are located, and also the empty lot across from My Happy Place. So that would be the 200 block, if I remember correctly, and then working all the way back to the bridge.
Is that the point of sale?
I can't say for sure, actually. It says where, that's the location where they will be sold, served, consumed, stored, or areas where they will be stored.
Okay, it kind of seems like a really wide area, you know, and it's just like I thought that maybe approving open containers would be like a separate agenda item versus you know, serving in multiple locations, but that I guess that was my only question or points of clarification.
Good point.
You know, in the Apple River Bridge celebration.
Hmm. So maybe we need more clarification on this.
But, is she on? She ain't on, is she? Okay.
So I'm not as familiar with you know, past practice and what other applicants have done. But you know, when Amy did show me this, because Andrea's was out last week. That was kind of a question that we both had when we reviewed it. It was like, well, it seems like this is kind of spread out. You know, are they gonna have multiple like kegs or you know, dispensary locations, or it was just, and I don't know if that's common practice or past practice to just use a large area like that, or if it's confined to one location. But I don't think it'd be bad to get some clarification and maybe touch base with Andrea to see, is this normal, or are they kind of required to be in one spot, or if they're going to use multiple locations, do they have to get different picnic beer applications per each location? Can you guys recall any past ones?
Hmm.
You know, this looks slightly different than what I'm used to as an open carry permit. This is the Class B retailer's license, so this is slightly different than what we're used to. At least I am. Let's see here. It certainly sounds like a good event, but we just need to make sure that it's being, you know, responsibly served. So maybe if we get more clarification about the actual location of each of where they're actually planning on selling those beverages, is that right? That's what you're
I mean,
looking.
that makes sense to me. It literally in the application, it calls for a street number, lot, block, or
We don't
did the
really have a
premise
date either.
occupy all or part of a building.
We don't have a date yet either, so I don't know.
Right, it was late or August or early September. So either way, it would need to go through this meeting for sure.
I mean, we could probably improve it with a couple of contingencies, I guess.
That's what I was thinking too.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, we're gonna need to know. Well, we're not sure what the date's gonna be yet either, I don't know. That's kind of a.
Let's see. Well.
So what all the things that we need, Joel? We need, just to make sure that, like, this doesn't, so it goes in, or, it'll go with what our ordinances say, is that the deal, or? As far
I was
as
just
that,
looking for like an actual street number or You know, so there's different spots on here, you know, she could fill in the block.
Okay.
So street number, lot, block. Did the premise occupy all or part of a building? But if part of the building, describe the full, all premise covered under this application, which floors or rooms or room licenses to be covered. So I just feel like it could be maybe filled out a little bit more detailed.
Okay, street number, block. A little more detail. Street number, block, more detailed. Location. And
You know, this could be completely normal. You know, when you do read the, you know, under number 2 here, you know, where beer and or wine will be sold, served, consumed, and or stored. I didn't know if there was like a blanket. Oh yeah, we're going to approve, you know, do the 200, 100 block and 200 block in Main Street, in the intersections adjacent to empty lot. You just my vision would they would just be kind of listing the exact locations. And if this is normal, Andrea might say, yeah, this is fine. We can accept it as it is.
okay.
Double check with her then too.
Mhm.
Okay. As far as the date, I understand that that is, it's hard to set until they're waiting for information from other people, it looks like. So I would be okay with approving that contingent on maybe then clearing the date with Public Works to make sure that the streets are available at that time. Village staff as well, would you think? To make sure there's nothing else going on at that time.
Sure.
So,
And maybe street number, block numbers, more, a little bit more detailed on the location, I guess.
okay, of the selling stations,
Yes.
okay. Well, I guess I will make a motion then to approve this application contingent on more specificity on the serving stations, the lot, block, and street number if possible, just a little more information there. And approval from Public Works as to, or at least working with Public Works to make sure that they can coordinate that correct date with them as well.
Okay. Chris Morel, second.
All right, well, all in favor?
Aye.
And thanks again, Joel, for your help there. This next one is, let's see here. Next, let's go over the oops. Possible recommendation, Kennedy's Cafe license premise extension. Okay. So we did receive some clarification from the state, really, that says it sounds like we can extend that premise to the parking lot as long as we are sure to exclude My Happy Place. Unfortunately, because of the type of business it is, being a retail establishment, the law just doesn't allow for them to serve alcohol. But we could allow Kennedy's to serve in that adjacent parking lot because of a lease agreement. Is that what you understood as well?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so if My Happy Place would like to, we could certainly, on a one-time basis, issue wine and beer permits, picnic licenses. If they wanted to go ahead with something like that, then, you know, if they're sponsored by a charity or a bona fide service organization, that type of thing, then that's something that we could just discuss in the future. But at this time, I believe we can make a recommendation to extend that premise extension to the parking lot, specifically excluding the business in between My Happy Place.
Chris Morel, second.
And any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Or I guess it's just a recommendation, I guess,
Oh, yes, well, mhm.
you know?
Okay, discussion school liaison officer agreement with Somerset School District. Do we have updates on that?
Yep, so Mike and I met with Shannon, last Wednesday. And, we had some good discussion. And, I think there were some points that were answered by Shannon for Mike, regarding their budget position, kind of the reasoning behind, why they're in this position, and additionally that this isn't a performance issue with our SRO position. This is a budget issue. The contract was signed. John Farrell's going to be our SRO this year. It's going to be 16 hours a week, a minimum. I guarantee he will be in there more. And we're also implementing other requirements for the road car and the chief of police and the night car to check in at the school district, just for more visible presence. Yeah, so I just also wanted to add that within our current budget, we're gonna have a surplus this year. We could use that surplus to make up more than twice the difference of the SRO position, what the school is contributing next year. One way or another, we're gonna make it work. We're good partners with the school. The school talked about their intentions of making this into a full-time 50-50 split again as soon as possible.
Great news. I think that police presence at the schools is so important.
Me too.
Lovely. Okay, wonderful, thank you. Any questions on that, or?
I didn't.
Okay, yeah, that's great news. Okay, so now let's go ahead and move on to the municipal court budget. 2023 budget report. And I don't have any questions.
Neither do I.
Great. So we can move on to the 2023 police report. Sorry, budget, police budget report. Do you have further training scheduled for this year?
There's a lot of FEMA training coming up, but that's free. We have a lot of in-house training coming up, but that's tuition free. Besides that, not so much.
You just had a big training, that DAT training, right?
The Gracie Survival School was a big ticket item, which is involving the defense and arrest technique training.
Everything looks great to me.
Me too.
We'll move on then. So we want to go ahead and go through the incident reports.
Yeah.
And I've had a chance to look through these as well.
I did too.
Anything stick out? Pretty standard.
A little busy.
Yeah, busy for sure.
So our old system used to be able to kind of take time of day, day of week, calls for service, and like put them in this beautiful chart for us. In preparation for this meeting, I tried to have our point of contact from St. Clair County Emergency Communication kind of put that together a similar graph, especially for justification for that seventh officer position. And unfortunately, with our new system, it doesn't have that kind of capability. So I think manual entry into a spreadsheet would just be too time consuming and not really practicable. But I'm gonna have to do something to kind of put together those statistics, and I'm hoping I still have some of those old graphs from 2001 prior.
Prior to the new software.
Yep, yeah, we got the new software in 2021, and before that, I mean, we use that to present to the board, saying, well, these are our busiest times. Here's are the numbers. This is the hours. And that's where I got that 3 to 6 p.m. Was our busiest time. I think it even was like somewhere between 3 and 8 p.m. is our busiest time for calls, dispatch calls for service.
That makes sense. Everybody's getting home from work, finding things, maybe having to report issues. Sure. Okay. So anything else that we should know about?
Nope.
Department activity?
I didn't really prepare a whole lot for anything department activity wise. We did have to switch back to that old schedule just due to staffing. I personally prefer the schedule. I think John's got a different opinion. So Mike visited the PD the other day, kind of talk about budget stuff, and then he also wanted to revisit the flooring. And I was agreeable to him putting on PD flooring on the full village board agenda, which I may or may not be able to make tomorrow night. And after further discussion, kind of with my staff, we kind of want to table that. I think we have higher priorities in terms of our building, whether it be kind of the mice and bats in the ceiling, the black mold from the roof leaks, climate control in our patrol office. It doesn't have AC. I think there's some other items that we'd probably like to address before we spend $4,000 on flooring. Within the same breath, we wouldn't be opposed for that $4,000 going towards, a needs assessment from this third party that is going to evaluate our building. So, yeah, I haven't had a chance to type something up, but maybe I can reach out to Tasia tomorrow. Just say that the PD at this point would like that flooring tabled. We were going to work with a local company. That local company hasn't even given us an updated quote yet. So we couldn't even take action on it tomorrow if we wanted to. But I think it's important for the board to know that there's other priorities over flooring that the PD wants to either prioritize or look towards the future.
And well, so we have a couple more concerts coming up. How do you think those have been running?
Yeah, they've been okay. We learned a lot from the first one. I gave that update at one of our public safety meetings about changing our traffic plan, and it just seems to be the last couple. If there's a concert in Somerset, there's gonna be severe weather. And we navigated that. There were some cell tower issues during the first one that have been mitigated with some portable cell tower for communication to the guests. I think our new traffic plan is a step in the right direction. I think execution is still to be determined on the venue, specifically for parking, and parking staff, and training their volunteers. But yeah, I think from emergency management perspective, I'd like to look into some better shelter options for concert goers, especially during inclement weather evacuation, and kind of put it back to the venue to say, okay, what's your plan? And how can we help facilitate this for the folks who maybe are a ride share or took a shuttle there or whatever. And we worked really well with the local campgrounds to give them advance notice, and they prepare as much as they can to get shuttles back, but it's still a process. And I'd like to see kind of a permanent shelter for those folks.
Lovely. Okay. Makes a lot of sense. Terrific. Anything else off the top of your head?
Nope.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, so how about we review the police and court bills? I don't have any questions or comments. How about you?
I do not.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, then I guess do we have anything? Future agenda items?
I don't. Unless Joel has anything you wanna add at some point.
Not that I can think of.
We're good.
Okay. Well, I guess I will go ahead and make a motion to adjourn at 6:07.
Chris Morel, second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Lovely. Well, thank you everyone for joining us this evening.
Thank you. Have a good night, guys.
Thanks. Have a good night, Joel.